Welcome to the Recruitment Hackers digital edition of Talkpush. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Recruitment Hackers is a series of events from the HR community to share good practices, tools, and opinions on industry trends. Now, these events have been organized by Talkpush all over the world since 2015 with editions in Manila, Hong Kong, South Africa, Costa Rica, Mexico, and this is our first ever completely digital edition. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Now, just a brief introduction about myself. I am your host for this afternoon. My name is Aris, and I am the regional leader of Talkpush here in Asia Pacific. My team is responsible for making our customers happy. And I'm really excited to get started on this topic of how technology is the true enabler for a great candidate experience, because it's a topic that's very close to our core beliefs in Talkpush. Now, why are we all here? We're here because we all believe that technology has a very important part to play in recruitment. It's all about freeing up recruiters' time so that they could focus on higher value tasks. And that means if we manage to put technology to work in what technology is good at, we can actually make recruitment more human and improve not just the candidate's experience, but as well as the recruiter's experience as well. And that's what Talkpush is all about and how we've built our solution. Now, before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to talk about a couple of rules that we have, not really rules, but really guidelines during this session. So we will be running this session for a little over 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. So for all of our attendees, if you have questions, please feel free to add those on the chat or on the QA portion of your screen. Make sure that you're selecting to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your question. At the same time, we are broadcasting live on Facebook. So for those people who weren't able to come in, there are people who they should be able to follow us on our Facebook page and view our live feed. And last but not the least, we'd like to make this a very interactive session. So we'll be having polls throughout the presentation. And obviously we would encourage everyone to participate on the polls. Now, let's start. Let's start with getting to know each other. Before we begin, I know that let me see. There are actually 75 participants, 76 participants in this call. And it would be important for us to get to know each one. So let me just start by starting the poll. Our first question is, how are you guys feeling today? Are you feeling excited? Are you feeling happy? Are you curious? Are you feeling tired? Or are you feeling worried? Now I can see all of you are answering the questions. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. I'll share the results. So most of you are feeling curious. I think this is a very good attitude to have during this call. We will be having a lot of speakers, 4 speakers to be specific, who will be talking about technology and candidate experience, and definitely they'd be able to satisfy your curiosity. I'm happy that most of you are also excited and happy. There are 7 people in the room who are feeling tired. I hope you'd be able to relax during the next 2 hours and feel better after this session. Now let's go to the next question. I'd like to ask everyone, what's your current role? So are you a recruiter? Are you an HR practitioner? Are you a digital marketer? Or are you from IT or from a different department? I'll give you time. I'll give you a few seconds to answer the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. We have 43 recruiters in the room. Well, that's expected. Hello. Welcome to all of the recruiters who are here. But we also can see that there are HR practitioners, a couple of IT guys, and there are people who are not part of any of those roles. So for those people who answered other, can you mention on the chat what's your role, so that we'll be able to know your background. Okay. And now for the last question, I wanted to ask, what brings you here today? So we have a couple of options here. Please choose what's your objective for joining this session. I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great. So it seems like most of you are here because you wanted to learn about technology trends in recruitment. And you're in the right place, everyone. Today, we'll be discussing trends in recruitment and how it relates to candidate experience. There are also people here who wants to see how processes have adapted after the COVID-19 situation. And some also wants to learn best practices from industry experts. We definitely have industry experts in the room, and you'll be able to learn a lot from them. There are 6 people, though, who answered that they're fans of the speakers. Put it on the chat. Which speaker are you referring to? Are you referring to Ange, to Penny, to Abhishek, to June, or to Max? Or maybe me? Just put it on the chat. Okay, so that's it. That's our poll. We will have polls throughout the session. But for now, I think everyone is now warmed up and everyone is excited to begin. So like I said earlier, there will be 4 speakers lined up during this afternoon, and we will have a digital panel discussion in the end. Now, I'm sure that all of you who are in the room will have questions for the speakers. So please utilize the Q&A on the chat function of your screen, and we will try to cover some of them right after every speaker. And if we were not able to do that, we will cover all of the questions during the panel discussion later. Now, like I said, we're also live on Facebook. And if you're there, we're also monitoring that Facebook feed. So keep the reactions and comments coming, and we will make sure to give a shout out to all of you later. All right, so at this point, I think we're so ready to start with our first speaker. Our first speaker is very passionate about transforming the state of HR. She has 15 years of experience in designing human capital strategies and implementing HR technology platforms, and is also the author of an HR book entitled Rethink Recruitment. She's also the CEO of TalentView, an employer branding firm with operations across the ASEAN region. Her company believes that by getting the right mix of strategy, design, and technology, they can help organizations develop a research-based framework to attract, engage, and retain talents. Everyone, let's all welcome Ange Vera, CEO of TalentView.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Aris, for having me. Thank you, Max, for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here, and it's nice to see everyone just being interested about the technologies that are out there and trying to adjust given the crisis. So I've been speaking with a lot of HR leaders, and what they're saying is this is not the new normal. This is the now normal. So everything that's happening now, this will most likely be what's going to press on in the coming months, coming years. So of course, as recruiters, as HR leaders, we want to be able to adapt very well. We want to adjust. So I just have a few slides I wanted to talk through and share with you some of these practices. And before that, Aris has a poll. We have a specific poll for this particular segment. So I'll let Aris run that poll very quickly, and then I'll share my slides.
Okay,
all right, so have you been conducting virtual interviews? Is this something new to you, or is this something you've been doing even before the lockdown and quarantine started? All right. All right, so everyone's hiring based on video interviews. That's great, 82%. And then others are getting a hang of it, and the rest, they do it once in a while, but not something that's part of their regular recruitment. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen now, just for you guys to see my slides. Okay. So just wanted to check, do you guys see the slide on TalentView? Aris?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, cool. So Aris was talking about TalentView being an employer branding firm. So I just wanted to quickly introduce who we are. There's three things we do very well. The very first is employer branding strategy. So there are a lot of companies we work with that need help to map out their strategy and make sure that they're moving across all the right steps. So that's the first thing. The second is design. So making sure that you're attracting the right talent and making sure that you can resonate with your message across the different talent segments that you're targeting. And the third piece, which will be, I guess, the center of our topic today, is technology. So how organizations fold in all the technology pieces for their strategy to happen. And let me just move on to the next there. So this is something I wanted to share with you today. When we talk of employer branding, when we talk of creating a great candidate experience, we're really saying, and this is our mantra, it's a very cheesy one, it's getting employers noticed and loved. So it's not just attracting them, but making sure that we're keeping them, making sure that they love the organization that they're part of. And if you look at the trend today, this is very fresh data coming from We Are Social and Hootsuite, right? What are the types of content people are looking for in this crisis? So my first message to all the recruiters that are listening today and that are joining us on this webinar is to try and tailor your message even before you think of technology, even before you revamp your entire process. Try to think of what ways you can connect with your target candidates. So if you look at the stats here, you really have a lot of people getting on films or watching films, looking at funny videos and memes, looking at how-tos and tutorial videos, or even live streaming from their favorite musicians. So how are you providing content that's engaging, that's interesting, and something that your candidates can resonate with? And if you're able to hurdle that, if you're able to think of it from a content standpoint, it's going to be easier for you to connect with your talent, right? And the next piece, and of course the heart of this very quick presentation that I'm making, is optimizing your virtual candidate experience. I always say this to everyone: hope is not a strategy. It's nice to hope that things will get better. It's nice to hope that, you know, your candidates are looking for jobs at this point. But hope is not a strategy. You need to reshape everything you're doing in talent acquisition to make sure that you've adapted to the times and that you've adapted to the changes that are going on. And obviously, online interviews is one of them. Take a look at my step one. Step one, increase virtual interaction and engagement with candidates. So I was talking about content. You have to make sure that you remain relevant. You have to make sure that you're not tone deaf. When I say tone deaf, you know, it's like you're not adapting or you're not speaking the language of what's happening today. You've got to be very sensitive to where your candidates are and where your target audience is, even thinking about the channels. Is it really Facebook where people should be in? Maybe LinkedIn, maybe Instagram, maybe YouTube. There's no one right answer. It really depends on where your talent segments are or who you want to target and what platforms they're using, what social media channels they're on, right? And then second is allow candidates to complete their application online. So do you have this set up? Do you have procedures in place, processes in place for you to be able to collect that data and do that first filter? You want a first filter. Did they graduate from the schools you want them to graduate if it's really needed? Second is, do they have the skills that you're looking for? So you can have some sort of knockout questions and just checking where they are in as far as the qualifications of the role are concerned. The third is assessing candidates for their initial qualification and competency requirements. So taking a look again at technologies, how can you test for skills like Photoshop? How can you test for a competency like innovation? How are you able to draw out the requirements of the job beyond what you can see from their CV is something that you need to figure out as a recruiter. The fourth step is conduct a more thorough interview whether it's video, whether it's online, whatever platform you're using, but bring in the decision makers. You want to make this efficient not only for you, but also for your candidate and for your business units, right? So you definitely want to make sure that that's covered. All right. So that's step 4, making sure that the interviews happen as efficiently as possible for all sides. And if that means that you bring people to a panel, or that means that they're watching a video and they can just stop and play as they see fit, then do that. But whatever is convenient and will take the most efficient amount of time. And the last is, of course, doesn't stop there. When you find the ideal candidate, you have to deliver the job offer and onboarding details in an effective manner as well. So how do you do this at this point? Are you asking them to come to the office to sign the final contract? Obviously now, that's not going to happen. That's not something that is realistic. So how do you also look at that from a virtual standpoint? And I'm sharing some stats on the right. Take a look. 48% of candidates say screening experience has an impact on how they favorably view a potential employer. So obviously you have a nice experience, the more you'll say yes to a company. You'll waste all your effort if you let the candidate go through the motions of hiring, but they don't have a great experience, because chances are half of the time they're gonna say no because they didn't get the experience that they were looking for. Second stat that you need to know, 81% say that regular communication would greatly improve their overall candidate experience. So my question for you is, are you not only getting the job done, but are you also communicating with your candidates at every step? So you can't just think of yourself and say, I have these numbers, I have to fill these roles, I'm going to do whatever it takes. You have to make sure that you're constantly updating your candidates every step of the way. And the third stat that you need to know is companies that invest in a strong candidate experience improve quality of new hires by 70%. And when I say quality, it means the business unit managers are happy with the candidates you field. It also means that recruiters don't need to get blamed for all the inefficiencies when they put a person that they hire into the team. So you definitely want to check on that quality of candidates that are coming through by providing them a very effective candidate experience. All right, and my last slide, some metrics that you need to be aware of, right? What are the metrics in HR and how are they changing? There's a lot you can measure. There's quality of hire, there's retention rate, there's cost per hire, number of applicants. What we've found in this crisis is that people are less concerned about cost per hire. Cost is crucial, budgets you have to maintain, but it's really more delivering the strategy and then adjusting that budget to make sure that it supports your virtual recruitment strategy. So that's the first piece. Quality of hire will always remain as a core metric. Is the business unit happy with the candidates that you're putting in? Are the candidates able to quickly get onboarded so that they can deliver for the business fast, especially in this crisis where any person that you hire, you need to be able to make them productive right away, right? So these are coming up as really critical. And again, one thing that I wanted to stress is most likely brand value. If you look at differentiation, so brand value, how valuable is your brand right now? Are candidates able to see how good of a company you are, especially during this challenging time? Are you making them aware of the activities that you have for CSR? Are you making them aware of how they're providing a good environment, work from home for their existing employees? Anything you do now, it's going to judge you. It's going to, anything you do now is going to judge you. It's going to show your true colors. And, that's the thing about the crisis. It's so difficult, but it's also a chance for people to shine. It's also a chance for companies to shine. And that's something that you've got to really lay down and think about when you're trying to hire. How does your company come across. So I guess that's it for my really quick presentation. I'm sharing my QR code if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll pass it now again to Aris. All right.
You actually brought a very good topic there. So we saw that candidates are actually becoming more and more critical these days, especially during the COVID. All of these COVID thing happened. Like before, they're curious about how much you're getting paid, or how much are they getting paid. What's the offer, or what are the benefits that the company would give them if they get hired. But we're seeing that, and this is data that is coming from Talkpush. We're seeing that candidates are actually asking, is this company stable? What are they doing in terms of corporate social responsibility? And I think this is a shift that's happening, especially during these times, that candidates are really asking more, and that's why employers needs to be investing on branding and candidate experience. We have a couple of questions on the Q&A. All right, so the first one is, and she shared a few statistics. I'm interested to know, how do you go about measuring the effectivity of candidate experience? I think, yeah. So
yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of different ways that you can measure experience. In the same way that, for example, if you go to a bank, the moment you finish your transaction with a teller, sometimes they allow you to put a smiley face if you were happy with the experience. They let you put a sad face in a box if you didn't like it. So that's one way. But you can also use surveys. So there's no one right way. You can also use surveys the moment somebody exits your virtual office now and they finish your application process. You can send them a survey that says, how likely are you to recommend our company based on your recruitment experience? So you can do surveys, you can do actual questions, just asking candidates how that was. Or you can even take it from a point of when they get hired. So when they get hired, you want to now backtrack how that experience was for them. You can definitely do that.
Right. Thanks, Ange. There's also one comment in the Q&A. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's saying a better metric than cost per hire is cost per hire in relation to its salary. So what is the percentage of hiring cost divided by the yearly salary?
That's definitely another way. There's a lot of computations for cost per hire. I believe you're referring to the ratio of that hiring cost to the salary or the level of the employee. So yeah, you can do that. But again, at the end of the day, my caution for everyone is, before looking at cost per hire as a standalone metric, is to look at that strategy first that you've laid out and how these budgets will affect your cost per hire.
I think we can take in one more. Do you think these metrics that you shared earlier are more prioritized now because of the crisis, and will continue to be more valuable even after the crisis?
Absolutely. Brand awareness for your company as an employer, your employer brand, is something we're seeing as even more critical, although the attributes have changed. So before, people were looking at maybe the innovation of the company, or maybe they're still looking at that. They're probably still looking at the experience as an employee. But one thing that's coming up is the stability an employer provides. I've been hearing that a lot over this quarantine period, where people are asking, how stable is this company, especially now in the crisis? They're putting that judgment out there. And again, the more you can communicate what kind of organization you are, the better it will be for you when it comes to talent acquisition.
All right. Thank you, Ange. Thanks for answering all of those questions.